Hi, I'm Karen. Welcome to my channel. This is where I share my experiences using cruelty-free skincare and makeup on mature skin. Today, I want to do a tag video. This is the palette tag created by Samantha March. These days, I mostly watch YouTubers who are around my age and who have smaller channels. But there are a couple of younger, bigger YouTubers that I still watch, and Samantha March is one of those. I watched her tag video, and it looked like it'd be a really fun tag to do. So let's get started. I have my questions here, and I have all of my palettes out. For reference, I have 14 palettes, which is not a huge number, but it's enough to have a little bit of variety in my answers to these questions. The first question is, show your newest palette. This is my newest palette. This is the Aether Beauty Solstice palette. I picked this one up during the Sephora spring sale just a couple of weeks ago, and I've been using it pretty much every day since then. This is the palette, and I just love it. Now, normally my palettes would not look this bad after just a couple of weeks of use, but I was doing some swatches when I first got this one, and I had coconut oil on my finger where I was wiping off the swatches. Got it all over the palette, so that's why it looks a little bit rough. But it is a beautiful palette, and I'm so happy I have it. I had made a Sephora sale recommendations video, and my friend Wendy mentioned in the comments that this Aether Beauty palette was marked down at Sephora, and I'm so glad she mentioned that because I had forgotten about that. And with the markdown plus the 20% off, I got a really great deal on this one. It's normally $58, and it was marked down to $40 and then 20% off on top of that, so it was a really good deal. It's a beautiful palette. I'm wearing these colors today. I've got in my crease this top peachy matte color here, which is one of my favorite matte colors in my collection. Then on the lid, I've got this little diamond shaped pinkish brown color here all over the lid. And then just a little bit of this pretty peach shimmer down here in the inner corner, and just a little tiny touch in the middle of my lid. Then I used this darker color right here to deepen my outer corner just a little bit. I've been wearing this palette every day for the 2 weeks that I've had it, and I just love it. Aether Beauty makes beautiful palettes, and I'm glad that I have this one as the newest one in my collection. The next question is, show your oldest palette. My oldest palette is this. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. This came out in spring of 2018, and I remember that because at that time I didn't have any palettes. I didn't own any palettes. For the longest time, I didn't wear eyeshadow at all. I just wore eyeliner and mascara. And then before that, when I did wear eyeshadow, it was either eyeshadow singles or duos. I never owned any palettes. In spring of 2018, I started to do a lot of research on skincare for my sad looking skin, and I discovered YouTube beauty videos. I was watching a lot of videos with skincare recommendations, and a lot of the YouTubers that would talk about skincare would also talk about makeup. And I started hearing about all the different eyeshadow palettes, and I kept hearing about the Soft Glam palette. So when I was in Sephora one day, I picked it up and fell in love, and that started my love of eyeshadow palettes. This is a gorgeous palette. You've probably seen this one many times in lots of videos, but that's mine. I have actually hit pan on one of these shades, this one here. This is a gorgeous crease shade that I use with pretty much any look I create out of this palette, either that one or this corner one here. Those are my two favorite crease shades in this palette. This is just such a gorgeous palette. I just love it. It's still a favorite. Next question, show your most expensive palette. This one's easy. This is the Natasha Denona Gold Palette. This is such a pretty palette, but it is a $129 palette. Now, I didn't pay $129 for it because I got it last year during one of the Sephora sales, so I got 20% off, but I still paid over $100 for it. It's gorgeous though. Samantha said that this was her most expensive palette, and she talked about how she really loved the mattes in this more than the shimmers, and I feel the same way. Usually I'm all about the shimmers. Mattes are not that big a deal to me as long as I've got a really pretty blendable crease shade and maybe a little something to darken the outer corner, but even then I can use a shimmer for that, and the lid color is what really matters to me. But in this palette, I just love all of these mattes. They blend so well. I can see why Natasha Denona palettes and her formulas are so popular. Her mattes are gorgeous. The shimmers in this I struggle with. I know a lot of people love the shimmers in this palette. There's 3 or 4 different formulas in here of shimmer. I just really don't like a lot of the formulas. I feel like the shimmers are hard to work with. They leave a lot of fallout. A few of them are topper shades that you really aren't meant to put all over the lid. Some of them have kind of a duochrome effect. I don't like having to remember what all the different formulas are, which shades I can use as toppers, which ones I can use all over my lid. I don't like that in a palette. So, but I do love the mattes in this. I just don't know that this is worth the $129 or the $100 that I paid for it, but it is a gorgeous palette. Even on sale, it was still more than twice the cost of any other palette I own though, so definitely pricey. Next question, show your most affordable palette. This is fun. I've got 2 of these. These are little e.l.f. palettes. These are the e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. These are my 2. These are $3 each, and I think they're a beautiful formula. They work so well. I get really pretty looks from these. Love these. Next question, show your everyday palette. For everyday, probably the one I would reach for the most is this. This is my Ilia The Necessary Warm Palette. This is a gorgeous formula. I love all the colors in here. I can create a few different looks with just a few shades in this. It's easy to wear, it's easy to put on. The mattes blend well, the shimmers are gorgeous with no fallout. It's just perfect for every day. Yeah, this is my everyday palette. Next question, show your most colorful palette. I don't have a lot of colorful palettes. I wear mostly neutrals. So I had to think about this question for a minute, but this would probably be my most colorful. This is the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. This is also one of my favorite palettes. It's so pretty. It's got a pretty good amount of bright colors in here. It has some pretty blues and greens in this corner. Then over here, it's got some purples and pinks. It's got some oranges. This coral color here, I absolutely love that in the spring and summer as a crease shade. It's so pretty. Next, show your smallest palette. Well, back to my little e.l.f. palettes again. These are also, as well as being my least expensive, these are my smallest palettes. These are bite size is the name, and they're so cute and little, but the pans actually are pretty good size in these though. It's only 4 colors, but you get a good amount of each color. And I just love the formula of these. I can't believe that they're only $3, even as tiny as they are. It's a great deal for a beautiful formula. Next question, show your biggest palette. I don't think I've ever talked about this palette on my channel. I never use this palette. This is the BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette. And it is definitely my biggest palette. This is it. And when I saw this and when I looked at this, I thought, wow, with all those colors, I'm going to be able to create so many different beautiful looks. But I don't know why I never ever reach for this palette. I've used it maybe 2 or 3 times and I've had it probably 6 or 8 months. I just really don't care for something about it. This like the tones of the shades are off just a little bit, or the formula maybe. I don't like the mattes. There's all these purple mattes down here that I would never use for anything. There's a lot of really cool toned colors down here that I don't like on me. A lot of these colors are too deep to wear on the lid. For me at least, I wouldn't wear a lot of these colors. I just really don't care for this one. I didn't even think of it when I was thinking of my most colorful palette. It probably is more colorful than the Born to Run, but I don't think of this one to wear or think about it at all. I'll probably end up decluttering this. If I do an eyeshadow palette declutter, this one will probably go. Next question is, show your palette with the best memory. I'm gonna go back to my Soft Glam again. When I first saw this, I was at Sephora looking at skincare. I saw this one on a display and I swatched it on my arm and I fell in love. The feeling I got when I saw all of these colors swatched on my arm, I'll never forget it. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. I can't quit staring at it. It was such a fun memory. My husband was with me, my son was with me. They were in other parts of the mall. I came out of Sephora. I said, look at this, look at my arm, look at these colors. This is not gorgeous. I didn't buy the palette that day, but I went back and got it. I think I ordered it online later that day or the next day because I just could not believe how pretty it was and how gorgeous the colors were. And I just remember that feeling of showing it to my husband and my son and saying, can you believe these colors? Can you believe how shiny and sparkly everything is? It's just, love it. I still love it. Still think it's a beautiful palette. Next question is, show a palette worth the hype. I could go back and mention a couple of the ones I've already talked about. This is one of them. Or the Born to Run. I heard a lot of people talking about it. I think it was worth the hype. But I'm going to try to bring in another palette that I haven't talked about yet. This is the Natasha Denona Mini Nudes palette. When this came out last year, I remember hearing everyone talk about this. They were saying that this formula was more like the formula in her big palettes, that this was a much better formula than a lot of her minis, which people were saying had a different formula. Everyone was saying these colors were just so gorgeous and so wearable. And I just heard so much hype about this palette. And so I bought it. These are the colors I love to wear, and it is worth the hype. For $25, these shades are gorgeous. I can wear every one of these shadows. I love all of them. I love them together. I can get different looks. I just think it's a gorgeous everyday palette. I love wearing this one, and I do think that this palette is worth the hype. Next, show a palette not worth the hype. This is another palette that I never ever reach for. I know that this is going to be an unpopular opinion because everyone I've ever heard mention this, and it's a lot of people, everyone loved it. I don't. This is the Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette. I've only used this 2 or 3 times. I just don't like the formula of this. The colors are pretty in here, but I just don't like the way it wears. I don't really like the mattes. I feel like they're chalky. I don't like the shimmers. I feel like they're patchy and the color payoff isn't there. I just really don't like this palette. I know it's a very popular palette. It got a ton of hype. I still hear people talking about it even though it's an older palette now. I don't think it was worth the hype. This one will probably end up being decluttered from my collection too. Next question, show your favorite palette from a favorite brand. I'll probably have to talk about one I've already talked about here, the Ilia one. I love e.l.f.'s products. I'm wearing the e.l.f. foundation right now. I'm wearing the e.l.f. Color Haze blush right now. I love the e.l.f. mascara. I love this palette. It is so pretty and wearable, and it is my everyday favorite palette. And I just love everything I've gotten from e.l.f. I've got their primer also that I really love. I'm going to be getting some e.l.f. lip products, so I'll be talking about those in the future. I like everything about the brand. It's a clean brand. Of course, it's cruelty free, and they make high quality, gorgeous products. I just love e.l.f. and this is my palette from that brand. Next question, and this is the last one. Show your most used palette. Well, probably my oldest palette is my most used palette. That would be this one, because I do have it in regular rotation still, and I've had it for the longest time. And it is the one that I have hit pan on a color. I haven't done that with any other palettes. Hit pan on that one there. But if we're talking about right now, which one I wear the most, it would be my Aether Beauty Solstice palette, because I wear it. I've worn it every single day since I got it a couple of weeks ago. And then if we're talking about over the past 6 months, probably my e.l.f. palette, because it is my favorite everyday palette. So depends on how you interpret that question, but those are my 3 most used palettes, depending on if you're asking about ever, or the last 2 weeks, or the last 6 months or so. That's it. That's all the questions. I'm not going to tag anyone in this video. I know some people don't like to do tags, and I don't want to tag anyone and make them feel like they're obligated to do one. But if you are watching this and if you have a channel, I tag you if you like to do tags. Please do it. Please let me know that you did it so I can watch your video. If you don't have a channel and you just want to answer some of these questions in the comments below, I'd love to hear that too. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. Just hit that subscribe button down below and ring that notification bell next to that so that you'll know when I post new videos. Bye for now.